Good evening. You're watching Asia in Review, and I'm your host, David Day. And we have got a fascinating program for you this evening. We're going to be talking about Hawaii's bridge to the new Burma, or to the new Myanmar, depending on your perspective. We'll get into that in a moment here. But let's set this up so you can really appreciate. The two ladies sitting with me have recently returned from Burma. And they're part of Hawaii's bridge to Burma, and we're going to talk about what's been happening, the changes. I mean, if you think back on your memory, who would have ever guessed that Vietnam would become a major trading partner with the United States? And we've seen the rise of China out of the ashes of the Cultural Revolution. So and the same is true with Burma, only it's alive in the news, and we're going to give you some things that you haven't seen in the media before. On your left is Karen Knudsen, the Director of External Affairs for the East-West Center. And Karen, it's nice to have you here, and welcome to Asian Review.
Thank you.
And you have been on our shows many times before, I know.
Thank you. Well, a couple of times, thank you, David, and it's always a pleasure.
And on your right is Dr. Miemie Byrd. Miemie, nice to have you again here with us on Think Tech.
Thank you.
Dr. Byrd, and I'm going to call you Miemie. Is that okay?
Yeah, please,
I can't
please.
do this doctor thing.
No,
okay,
please,
all right,
please.
We'll do the
I prefer Miemie.
Okay. So Miemie is a Burmese-American, and she's a professor with the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, which is that no-name, mysterious group of buildings next to the Halikoa parking garage, which is actually has its mission to change the world or something like that, right?
That's right.
It's a
That's
very,
right.
very important part. So as you think about Hawaii and Hawaii's role in the Asia-Pacific region, these two ladies represent significant institutions, and I like to call them pillars to Hawaii's bridge to Asia. And then in terms of relationship with Burma or Myanmar, there's something a lot more that they have to offer. And so let me explore that just for a moment, and then we'll kind of get into what's happening in Burma, kind of give you some background so that we can begin throughout this program to begin to march towards an understanding for you and the audience of the very unusual relationship, the bridge that Hawaii has to the new Burma. So let me start out first with you, Miemie. You are Burmese-American, and how about give our audience a little bit about your personal and family connection with Burma?
Well, I still have my family, like my father, my uncle, aunts, still living and working in Burma. Many of them are business owners. And my family, immediate family, immigrated to the United States when I was 14. So I practically grew up in the United States.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so your dad is your dad an American citizen?
Yes, he is.
He is. So where is he right now, today?
He is right now in Burma.
Okay.
He's in Yangon.
Yangon, and he has what kind of business?
He has a pharmaceutical business that he started about 16 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting business academic link right there with Miemie. And so Karen, over to you. Now, you just came back from Burma, but
Correct.
was this your first trip?
No, my first trip actually was 1976, when you could only stay for one week in Burma, 7 days. And since that time, I just completed my 7th trip to Burma, starting in the mid-2000s when I started to visit quite regularly.
So you made a number of trips on behalf of what organizations?
Well, the East-West Center, the first trip was just an around-the-world trip after I finished the Peace Corps, when my husband and I were in the Peace Corps. But since then, mostly in my capacity with the East-West Center. But this recent one was sort of vacation. We went there for personal reasons, but also a little bit of work, combining it as well.
Okay.
We have a strong alumni chapter, East-West Center.
Let's not talk about that yet. We don't want to
Okay.
talk about that. We'll get to that later.
Okay, great.
But can I make a clarification on
Sure.
this Burma-Myanmar dichotomy?
Yeah, I
a little
think we
bit
should.
for your viewers,
right.
because Karen and I will continue to have to say Burma because we both work for the U.S. government entities. But the country is today officially called Myanmar, and that is phonetically correct name for the country, and it also connotes the inclusiveness of all the ethnic groups. So there's a Burma, there's Chin, Kachin, and you know there's Wa, yeah, all the like over 100 ethnicity are inclusive in that Myanmar meaning, whereas Burma is the colonial legacy.
The British legacy.
Yeah, the British legacy. British gave Burma because, you know, the majority ethnic group is called Burma.
Okay, and so what we can expect to see in the media over time, the word Burma, and talking about the nation state, is in the United States is eventually going to morph into Myanmar.
Well, once the sanctions and all that is worked out, yes, it probably will go that direction. But right now, United States still officially recognize Burma as the name rather than Myanmar.
Okay, so for you as the audience, don't get confused by this, okay? Please. And so we were talking about the new Burma, the bridge, Hawaii's bridge to the new Burma, and if that's okay, we'll use that for this program, but understand that we could have called it Hawaii's bridge to the new Myanmar. Okay, so we're clear on that. Both of you have just come back very recently from Burma, so let's kind of give the audience here what is it like? So Miemie, why don't you start? And just kind of well, what's it like?
It was a very exciting time to be there, and we were both happened to be there at the same time. There was a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, very much hope for the very first time. You just see people just feel they walk a little bit faster, with their head a little bit higher, and you know, this is the first time in many years the Burmese feel like they have some hope.
All right, now we may have some viewers out here that don't understand why they're walking a little taller, their heads are a little higher, and so that has to do with the whole situation involving Aung San Suu Kyi.
Right.
And so would you explain that to our audience just very briefly?
The Burma held the by-election in April 1st this year, and Aung San Suu Kyi and her party NLD, National League for Democracy, were able to contest in this by-election. And there were 45 seats available or vacant, and they ran for it, and they won 43 out of 45.
So Aung San Suu Kyi plus 42.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay. So this is the kind of the pinnacle so far, this election of several steps that the new civilian government,
yes,
morphing out of the old military junta,
that's right,
of Thein Sein, this new government has made, in terms of reform, several steps along the way, and so that's the reason the people are standing a little straighter and heads a little taller, or standing taller, something like that.
Personally, I think that's part of all of this. I mean, there is an excitement, anticipation, and societies do continue to evolve, but there was a feeling of excitement this time that I hadn't experienced before. So this is great.
I mean, we've seen this in other countries before. I mean, I have seen it certainly in Vietnam and some other countries. This is like the birth of a whole new nation coming on, and a sense of national pride and enthusiasm and you know, hope for the future, kind of, which is exciting. Well, maybe just as an example, what's happened with our beloved media in Burma, Miemie? What have you seen? What kind of changes have you seen there?
I think that was one of the most exciting thing for me, from my perspective, is that the Burmese, the new civilian government has censorship. You know, they have relaxed the censorship. And so now this used to be the newspaper, the only newspaper that the Burmese have available, and it's sponsored by government. But today...
Well, wait. Before today, before we get to today. So this was it.
Yeah, this was it.
This black and white rag.
And primarily like a lot of meetings and a lot of ceremonial type of news. this official went to there and they visited certain, they attended certain award ceremony or something like that. That's usually tend to be the primary news.
Established in 1914.
Yes.
I mean, so what's the name of this, the English translation?
It's called New Light of Myanmar.
New Light of Myanmar.
Myanmar, yes.
Okay, so this is the government propaganda, and this is all you could get in the whole country.
Yes.
Okay.
Until recently.
Okay, and so recently, what happens to newspaper situation in Burma now?
Right, the censorship got relaxed and then people are allowed to publish. So as a result, I brought a sample of some of the newspapers that are available now. And this is just a sample. In Yangon alone, the capital, Yangon or Rangoon, alone has about 40 newspapers. And here, I think I grabbed about 10 different ones. So these are all different ones. And many of them are now allowed to publish, have Do Aung San Suu Kyi picture on it. So in the past, it was prohibited.
Right. Let's just take this one right here. This one right here.
Oh, that's
Okay.
with Derek Mitchell.
Okay, so this is kind of an example of the new Burma.
Yes.
Right. And so this is the Myanmar Post. Right.
Yes.
And so I see American flag, and who is this?
That's Derek Mitchell, the new the Ambassador Derek Mitchell, the
Designate.
yeah,
Or-
yeah. He has been designated as ambassador to Burma, but he hasn't been confirmed yet.
Okay, so and this just for our viewers. I know you maybe not used to seeing people shuffle newspapers in a television show, but let me show you that this is, Karen, if you'll hold this. This is the old Burma, and Miemie, if you'll hold this one. This is the new Burma, and so you'll notice here in color the leader of the opposition. In the picture here, Aung San Suu Kyi and her supporters, which you never would have seen in the old Burma.
Right.
And I don't know, a technicality, is she leader of the opposition or just leader of the NLD? Because there are many different parties.
Right,
That's
the
right.
NLD, right,
Right.
yes. that's
But for
right.
purposes of the
Oh,
rest of us
purposes.
outside
But
of the world.
she is the famous,
Okay.
opposition. Her
She is.
party is the
Yeah.
famous
All right,
opposition.
all right, all right.
Right, the opposition.
So Karen, for you just came back. Well, what's your reaction to being in Burma? You've been there several times before. Well,
Right.
what's it like?
Well, there are several different things. I think as the country, they're starting reforms, and whether or not it's partly because they're going to be taking over, the ASEAN chairmanship, but there are things just physically when you walk around. For instance, new cars. Every other time we'd been there, the cars, old junk cars, and now people are getting new cars. Government is allowing you to have permits, and so you're just seeing these in some ways superficial, but it's so amazing. But also
What is this picture here? We're looking at our viewers are looking at this picture. I mean,
Miemie, talk about this.
Yeah, I took that photo. It's a bunch of women that are in the back of a pickup truck. They're campaigning, and that when I took that photo, there's a music blaring, the NLD music blaring from the loudspeaker, and they were just, very elated and excited.
well, I mean, you can just see from the faces how the exactly what you're talking about, the passion, the excitement, the big smiles, and then
Yeah.
just.
And you wouldn't see anything like this before.
Yes.
Because even talking to foreigners, people were anxious to talk about politics. And usually when you're there, you don't talk politics. You just avoid it because it has not been, it's been very difficult in the past. So this was just exciting.
Fascinating, really fascinating. Well, what's the situation now with the running around the globe here in terms of the various kinds of sanctions that have been in the past that have been imposed on Myanmar and are now in various stages of being either suspended or lifted? Let's talk about that for a moment here.
Miemie knows this in far more detail, but I think we've found historically that when some governments impose, like the United States, impose sanctions on various countries, it will have some impact, but often the people that they want to affect, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't hurt the people who already have access to wealth, the people in power, but it hurts a lot of the people, the small people.
Sure.
And I think we've found that time and time again, and you have examples of
Yeah,
small
I
business
do.
people.
Small businesses, I would say about between 50 to, that they employ 50 to 100 employees, and they're the one that hit the hardest by the sanctions, when the sanctions are imposed, and they consider themselves economic prisoners. and they wanted to know when I was interviewing them when I was in Burma, and they wanted to know when are they going to be released.
When are they? So that
Yeah.
they've been under house arrest for how many years?
Oh well, since the Western
started.
countries
Okay.
put the sanction against
Right.
them. So one of them was this woman that I talked to. She used to own a garment factory, and when the sanction got hit, then she has to lay off all these women, and many of them ended up in the prostitution. So she said that what do we ever do to deserve that? Or what did those women ever do to deserve that? And then another one was a construction company, it's a family-owned construction business where they had all these raw material purchased to build this a building, and then suddenly the sanction hit, and then they pulled out of Burma, and they were stuck with all the raw material, and but they bought all that material on
So they were
credit.
they were
So
stuck
they're-
with the debt.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
stuck with the debt.
So again, it's hurting the people that I don't think we intended to hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could say the same thing, perhaps, we're not going to get into this, but we could say the same thing for sanctions against North Korea, perhaps. That the,
I think I don't want to we
no,
don't like
we're,
to
no,
compare.
we're not comparing.
I like to compare
I
North
understand,
Korea
I
and
understand, I
Burma,
understand.
yeah.
But we do know that in terms of sanctions with North Korea, there we really know that it's not getting the food. I mean, I think we have a lot more evidence. So again, I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe there is a correlation, but
Yeah.
Well, the topic of sanctions is important for our audience because they need to understand the reaction of the global community, the world community, to these various important reforms that have been taking place in Burma
Right.
over the last many months or so. And so let's just start with what we know at the present time, and we'll get into the status without getting into timing and so forth, the status of U.S. sanctions. But let's start with Australia. What is the situation with Australia's sanctions against Burma?
They removed it.
They've removed it.
Yeah, Australia removed it. Canada is the latest one that removed it. Of course, EU has suspended for a year, and UK is thinking about it. So. And
Norway
then,
completely lifted
yeah,
it.
and the U.S. also have wavered some of the sanctions. So
Right.
things like they're working on the waiver on the being able to invest in investment into
Okay.
Burma, and then the humanitarian type of assistance into Burma, NGO working in Burma. That type of stuff has been waived. So
Well, what are the reforms that have taken place that have caused this shift in the world opinion vis-a-vis Burma?
Well, I think, starting from when the military took off their uniforms and then ran as civilians. I mean, that's one thing that was very important. The release of some of the political prisoners. There are still many, behind bars, but there have just been some steps like that that have signaled that they are making changes. And then, of course, releasing Aung San Suu Kyi from house arrest and her run. I mean, there were just a number of steps.
right, and they changed they amended their constitutions, which will allow her to be eligible to
Right.
run for the office, and that's what happened.
Right.
So yeah, it's they have many reform steps to go, but they are heading in the right direction. They are heading in the right direction.
So this is exciting because if we look back in history at the status, stature, and wealth of Burma, and let's go back to the post World War II period. What do we have for a country there, Miemie, that our audience needs to know?
Well, post World War II, Burma was considered one of the first Asian tigers, where Burma was the leading rice exporter. Burma's higher learning institutions were one of the premier institutions where other Asian countries and students come to study. But in the 1962 coup happened, and everything get reversed, slowed down and reversed, and then what we have today.
What was the role of Aung San Suu Kyi's father, famous general? What was his role in Burmese history? Why is he considered to be the George Washington of the country?
Well, he was he led the 30 comrades and during 30 Comrades against the uprising against the British rules. So
here we have his picture when during all of the political rallies. They have a picture of General Aung San, and he was only 32 years old when he was assassinated. Yeah. But he still carries being the father of the country, and Miemie, he's the father of the country, and she is now being called Mae Su, the mother. Mae Su, yeah, Mae Su meaning mother. So he is the father of Burma independence, and she is the mother of Burma democracy. Yeah. So these were everywhere.
Yes.
So.
And that's how she came into initial to the popular scene, was that her role as the Bojo Aung San, or General Aung San's youngest daughter, and she was there taking care of her mother when she was sick, and then in 1988, and this whole student uprising, and she got caught into it, and that's how she ended up in, she ended up coming into the popular press per se. Because of her role as a daughter of the General Aung San, the Burma independence hero.
So now we have, ladies, and by the way, you're watching Asia in Review, in case you just tuned in, and I'm your host, David Day, and we are talking about Hawaii's bridge to the new Burma. And we, at the beginning of the program here, in case you missed it, we did cover the name change to Myanmar that is in the process of change here in the United States. We think in the future, I think. Fair statement. The rest of the world uses Myanmar, but there are certain pukas that are left with the name Burma. And so we want to talk next. We've kind of established some background here. Let's talk a little bit about the demands or the need in the economy, the business opportunities that are there. That the two of you, you've just come back. I mean, what do you see, Karen?
I think there are tremendous opportunities, but this is a country that's been cut off for years and years. So even though it's very resource rich, it has tremendous natural resources.
Like what?
Well, it has gems, gas, teak, oil. I mean, it just
and potential for be the big rice growing region.
Right. It used to be the rice
bowl. Right.
For all of Asia. So I see, but they need help. They need professional training. They need a re-emergence, basically, into the modern world. The Burmese have had a tremendous education system in the past. Literacy is still very high there, but because they've been cut off, I think there needs to be a lot of time and educational thrust there, so they can negotiate with their surrounding partners, because people right now, you can see it, the vultures ready to come in and take advantage of this. I think for the United States, we want to help support. We also see business opportunities, but I think Miemie and I have talked about how can we do this in an appropriate way instead of just taking advantage. The country has been taken advantage of by some not so friendly neighbors, and we need to help them develop and but I think there are opportunities.
Okay, now Miemie, talking about China.
Oh, what about China then?
Well, I think that the important part that our viewers need to know is the point that Karen just brought up of kind of how the U.S. role would. In other words, how can we make Burma win? And in order to understand how we make Burma win, W-I-N, not your last name,
okay.
How we make Burma win and how the U.S. wins in that relationship has to do with an understanding of the strategic position and the relationships that country has already. And so maybe could you give our audience just a quick little picture of what that's like?
Well, Burma, for U.S. interests, Burma is, I think that Carl Jackson said in his his latest testimony in Washington D.C. at Congress is location, location, location.
Because like real estate.
It is. The geography does play a big role. You know, Burma is situated at the mouth of the Malacca Strait, which is the major trade route in that part of the world, and plus together with you know, ASEAN, it's a part of ASEAN, and if we wanted to engage with ASEAN more, it's really make it very difficult for the United States to have one of the 10 country not being able to engage with. So that's one key thing, and then. You know, I mean, I think that from the Burma perspective, Burma wants to diversify their portfolio.
Okay.
So because of the Western sanction, they didn't have any choice but to depend on, you know, one or two major power in the region. But I don't think that that's something that they wanted to, or they feel comfortable based on the historical, you know, experience and all that. So.
And who were those one or two powers that they had to depend on?
Well, you know, because of all the sanction, it just used to be primarily China. And and then later on, India came through, but still, China still has a lot more dominance over, you know, the Burma relationship.
Let me ask you because I know you can do this, to stand in the shoes of take off the American off you and just of the Burmese, and looking at the situation in terms of business investment into their country today. Is it primarily Chinese and Indian investment in the country today?
Well, actually, the investment-wise is Chinese, Singaporean, and some Thai, and
okay.
Thailand. So that's they have some relationship with India, but India, you know, will be maybe fourth.
Okay. And who did you see while you were there? What new investors, new countries are coming in?
Well, not Americans. It just still surprises me that there are so few Americans. Even with all of the publicity, Americans are not there yet. There are Italians or Germans there. There's a flight.
Yeah, right.
Germans?
German
Okay.
just started the direct flight from Yangon to Frankfurt. Direct flight, and then there are a lot of South Koreans. There are a lot of South Koreans.
Japan.
And Japanese just got in there, but the South Korean has been coming in, and the Burmese government is also looking at them and looking at their model of growth, because you know South Korea transition from a military government into the democracy, and then in a very short time they have become the one of the newly industrialized economy. So Burmese government really find it to be an interesting model.
And when we talk about opportunities, business opportunities, in the past, like last year, there were maybe 400,000 tourists to Burma.
Okay.
This year they're projecting more than 1 million. And that's a huge jump for a country that has very limited infrastructure or anything regarding the tourist industry or service industry. So just to have businessmen come in, you know, and try to accommodate them. Also the financial systems. There is not a stock market. I mean, you can't, when you travel to Burma, it's a cash-only economy. You take in your crisp $100 bills.
Okay.
No credit cards, no traveler's checks. Now, for most Westerners anyway, I mean, my best friend is my credit card, and you can't use it there. So just to even work with to introduce credit cards into the country will be phenomenal. So.
Well, you've pointed out one area that, as I listen to you, that you know, for the Hawaii business community that's watching this program, you know, clearly Karen has identified, you know, the tremendous need for that country to build on its tourism infrastructure. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we are ground zero in this region of the world for tourism technology. And so there's the whole tourism area. What else do you see for Hawaii business, Miemie? What opportunities do you see that are there?
Well, in construction, right? Now they're going to have to construct all these hotels too, and also roads as well, and all the infrastructure, telecommunication. You know, now people are like trying to get a cell phone. Cell phones are legal to own now, so everybody's out there.
Were they illegal before?
Yeah, it was.
You're told you can't bring a cell phone in.
Yeah, yeah. So now like there's a huge pent up demand. I mean, even for like a beauty products, right? The Western beauty products, you know, how many times you can get a lot of stuff with the lipstick.
Right.
If you can barter lipstick in American like Revlon or something like that, CoverGirl, it's sought after.
Yeah.
Because they just don't get that. So, and of course in the larger sector like energy, and all kinds of energy, and what else would it be? The energy cars, automobile, like you were saying, you know,
lots of Chinese cars in there, and I think they could use some American cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How
Well,
about General
you know,
Motors? Is General Motors?
Well, the day after the sanctions, well, the wavering of sanction on the investment was announced, I think on the 2nd or 3rd of April. The next day, the vice president of one of the automakers, U.S. automaker, were in Burma visiting.
How about you talk about construction? Is one of our famous construction companies, Caterpillar? Are they there in Burma now?
Well, I see Caterpillar stuff, but I don't know if they're there or not. But I see their machineries on the side of the roads.
Interesting.
And stuff.
Interesting.
So I don't know how they got there, but
But
they were the one of the company that sponsor back in October 2011 this conference on Burma, and Caterpillar and I believe Shell were the co-sponsor that conference.
What about your dad as a businessman? And he's in the pharmaceutical industry, and so he makes, I'm assuming, a profit on what he does.
Oh yeah.
And so what does he
very
do with this
profitable.
stack of bills? Does he have these hollow mattresses and it's very uncomfortable to go home and sleep?
Yeah,
in his house?
it's all on cash basis. But he does, you know, he deploys. He lives in the United States for over 30 years. So he went back and he deployed a lot of American business model, and he specifically used bottom of the pyramid model that is, you know, pioneered by the Dr. C.K. Prahalad out of University of Michigan, and that's a perfect business model.
What does that mean for our viewers? You explain what that is.
Oh, it's using the local knowledge, trying to understand the local market, and delivering the product the way that local will consume it.
So
It's like,
example.
one of them is like single serving. So my dad sells vitamins. Well, actually, he imports vitamins from United States to Burma.
Okay, so instead of buying a great big
Bottle.
jar that's got a 6-month supply,
Right.
Sam's Club or Costco version,
And people buy 2 pills a day. One consumer, because that's
Can't
all they
afford.
make. Right. They don't, because when you buy the whole bottle, you are bearing carrying costs, right? Inventory
Okay,
carrying
okay.
costs. And they make a couple of dollars a day. You know, most of them are less than $2 a day, so they can only afford that 2 pills for the day. And
Okay.
then when they earn 2 tomorrow, they may go buy another 2.
So when your father makes profit, where does he park his money?
Yeah,
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, that's right. My father also started this insurance, like a health insurance for his employees. So he started this insurance pool of money, but he has no way to invest it. So he ended up buying a rubber plantation to keep, to keep it somewhere.
So he stores his profit in a rubber plantation.
Yes, that's right.
Which means there's a demand for the type of financial products
Business,
and all
yeah.
kinds of
And also
hedge funds.
like an
and-
insurance, right? Medical insurance. He started his own self-funded medical insurance using his employees, but it would have been nice if somebody provided for him. He would have been more than happy to.
There's
buy
been
it
a
for him.
lot of talk in Hawaii about healthcare opportunities to export
Absolutely,
healthcare
yeah,
out of
sure.
Hawaii, either by education, by branch or affiliations in hospitals, and also through technology with telemedicine. I mean, is that an opportunity for Burma?
Sure.
Sure.
We were just on a session, we attended a session yesterday when Dr. Miang was talking about, because they don't have OSHA, they don't have safety standards there, and when you see these factories and when you see how people work, there are no goggles. The safety standards are different, and so people do, unfortunately, lose their limbs, get injured, and so there's a huge, not just market, but there's a huge education and need for that kind of medical services to help people with prosthesis and just preventive, so it's huge.
And another bridge to Hawaii Bridge is that we have Aloha Medical Mission that goes in, that has been going in for last 5 or 6 years and conducting these medical treatment session, yeah,
Right.
and they will go into some of the hospital and train the doctors and nurses there. And these people pay, these doctors, they pay out of their own pocket from here to go there to train people, and then they will put prosthetic on people as needed. So they will see like 500 or 600 patients in a 2 weeks period. So we've been doing that, and it is partially, a lot of the medicines are funded by some of the fundraising that we do in Myanmar Association of Hawaii here. So.
Well, you've touched on something that is actually it's a good segue into the title of this show. The title of this program is that no state has it, quite like Hawaii does. It's Hawaii's bridge to Burma or to Myanmar.
Right.
And let's start talking about the bridge and what that's all about. So, Miemie, you've identified the Aloha Medical Mission as maybe as one pillar of that bridge, and and because you're Burmese-American, you stand for another pillar of that bridge, and that's the Burmese community that's in Hawaii,
Right.
or Myanmarese Association.
Myanmar Association of Hawaii.
How big is that group?
Oh, we have about 100 people, 100 or so people, but we're very loose network, come together to enjoy, share culture and share food. Food is very big with us. Anytime we get together, we eat. But also during the Cyclone Nargis, we mobilize ourselves and we raised about $100,000 that we were able to go back and help the Myanmar inside in the country. So yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's another huge bridge to Hawaii, and we want to talk about that next. You're watching Asia in Review, and I'm your host, David Day, and with us is Karen Knudsen from the East-West Center and Dr. Miemie Byrd from the Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies. And let's launch into this now. And Karen, I'm going to put you in the hot seat here. And so by bridge to the new Burma, because of all the sanctions, all the changes, that's why we're calling it new.
Right.
The bridge is a people intellectual knowledge relationship cultural bridge that no other state is quite like Hawaii that has this. And for those of you in the business community, if you listen up here, I'm sure there'll be ideas that'll come across to you on how you might be able to get on that bridge. And so, Karen, let's talk about the major support for the bridge, or chunk of the bridge, however we want to describe it, and that's our beloved East-West Center here. And so for our audience out there, what is the East-West Center's bridge to Burma?
Okay.
What is
well,
that?
First, for the audience, if they don't know what the East-West Center is, let me just say it was founded by the United States Congress in 1960, and that the whole thrust is to improve the relations between East and West. And we were so strategically positioned here in Hawaii because we are the bridge, or we are the center that can do this. So over the years,
Is that why they call it the East-West Center?
Yeah.
That's pretty
right.
cool.
That's right.
Very
East
clever.
and West. That's right. I know.
I just had to say that. I mean, you just,
Right.
it's getting late in the day. But go ahead. All right, I'm sorry.
That's fine. But since 1962, and that's just 2 years after we were founded, we have had Burmese students come to the East-West Center. So we have about 158 scholarships that we have given over the years to Burmese. So not 158 alumni necessarily, but close to that. And so through that, we have developed a very strong, loyal group of people in Burma. They come here often. We will send people to Burma over the years. In fact, our Asia-Pacific Leadership Program with young people, they've just completed the their third conference in Yangon. So for us to continue this, and people
Wait a minute, the East-West Center is conducting Yangon?
This is a, well, this is a, it's the Asia-Pacific Leadership Program, and I have to be very careful because funding has been an issue, whether to use U.S. funding for this kind of thing. Okay. But it is sanctioned with our people who are there, with our young folks. So, yes, we're doing that. We do have a very active alumni chapter, but also by bringing Burmese here to Hawaii, where they have been able to interact with folks here, and then they go back, and it's amazing. Some of them in their email, it's like Burmese, and then Hawaii. They continue to the love for Hawaii. So I think we find that with so many people that we interact with, East-West Center, and we have more than 60,000 alumni around the world. But the connect to this state is important. And I think that's where we can all try to capitalize on it.
All right, well, you know, for the viewer out there, you're probably saying, no, okay, there's a lot of changes in this country. It all sounds good and it's very exciting, and other people are coming in, and
Right.
U.S. sanctions probably going to be lifted at some point down the road, more than they already have. We got some waivers in place now. And I want to get involved with Burma.
Okay.
I want to be involved in new Myanmar. And so the question is that I want to put to both of you is, how does that business person now, they're here in Hawaii, or maybe if you're watching this on the U.S. mainland, you know, you can get a hold of this here in Hawaii, but how do I take advantage of it? What do I do? What's going to be there for me that I can participate in this exciting, dynamic growth of a new country stepping onto the world stage?
I think in addition to just learning about the country and what the needs are, we've talked about the website, going to the U.S. Department of Commerce website in terms of doing business in Burma. And I think that's very important for the nuts
Hold on a
and
second.
bolts.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Okay.
We've
But
caught
that's
you by
really
surprise.
important.
All right.
That is key. I think anytime you want to do any import, export, or work with another country, you need to find out legally, you know, how you go about doing that. And that, I think, would be number one, in addition to learning about the country.
What Karen is talking about is a brand new guide for doing business in Burma that has been prepared by the U.S. Commercial Service, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. And it's a very extensive guide that's about 50 some odd pages long. It's just been issued, and the way that you'd find this is to go to export.gov and then look under the country Thailand. It's because there is no U.S. commercial service in Myanmar yet, so it's in the U.S. government in Thailand. And you look in the center of the page there and you'll see Burma. If you'll click on that, it'll set you up for an extensive 50 some odd page, and it talks about how to do business in Burma, what the political situation is, and so forth and so on. And that's what Karen is referring to here.
But first step will be just go ahead and visit Burma.
Yeah,
go
exactly.
to Burma. Go to Burma and get to know the people.
Right.
And then you know, you do your proper due diligence as a business person before you start. I mean, you would do the same thing in the United States, right? If you're in Hawaii and you wanted to go start up a business in Ohio, you'll make sure you go visit and you make sure you understand the people and you understand. I don't think it's any different per se, just using the same prudence, business prudence, and having the creativity and, you know, things like deploying the bottom of the pyramid type of models, you know, research those things and find the right fit. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, and just to be aware that there are other countries in there already ahead of Americans, ahead of us. So we need to go in and figure out our comparative advantage. And I think we have it just in our own business models and how we have been successful. But there are people in there right now already trying to strike deals. So.
Right.
Well, let me understand. What are the attitude of the the Burmese people, the people of Myanmar? What is their attitude towards Americans?
They love it.
I think so.
They really are pro-American.
Yeah.
And even you will see that even within the government, you know, Burmese government, also there many of them are they want to do business with the United States.
Why?
And some of them, you know, we offer this shining example of freedom and, you know, freedom and liberty, and that's really appealing to them. So.
And in some ways, actually, some of the young Burmese, they like our sense of humor, and we're not really that hierarchical. And so it's really refreshing, I think, because many countries do come in and there is that very hierarchical sense. And you see Americans, I mean, we'll hang out with busboys and everything. And I think there is sort of a sense of appreciation for that.
Okay. Well, let's go back to my example now. You're watching this program. You're a business person in Hawaii, and you're gone through the steps. You know, you've got the U.S. Commercial Service Country Guide for Burma. You've export.gov/Thailand, and then you followed Miemie's advice. You've gone to Burma, and you come back, and you're just as fired up as these two ladies are here, and so you understand that there's some kind of connection, some kind of bridge that Hawaii has to Burma. Is there a way that somebody in the business community, how might they work that bridge? How does the bridge work?
I don't know if you mean in terms of, when Miemie mentioned the Myanmar Association, I mean, I learn a lot just by knowing Miemie and by knowing people from the country and knowing that there are nuances in every system. When people first move to Hawaii, they say, well, you have to kind of learn the inner workings. And respect for the culture, respect for it, and just, again, learning and listening. And, again, the opportunities, potential opportunities, I think, do present themselves. In my own mind, if I had more time or expertise, I think that's a possibility, this is a possibility, because the needs are so great.
Right.
And again, if there's a respect for the people and wanting to see them develop and helping our own business, you know, our
Right,
opportunity, I think it will be great.
Yeah.
Well, let me pose a difficult question for you, Karen, and you may not be able to answer this, but and so I'm going to lean over here to Miemie's side, and we'll ask this question together with you. But as we look into the future, the next year or 2 to 5 years, something like that, is there a potential role that the East-West Center might be able to play in facilitating the business development out of Hawaii into Burma?
We are, right now, we're looking at.
Fair question.
Yeah, it's a very good
We're
question.
looking at what our strengths are, and already, because we're a very small organization, but we do have expertise in a lot of different areas. So right now, just like many people, but we do think we have a comparative advantage by already having a reputation in the country
Sure.
and in the region, and then partnering with other organizations where we might not have that expertise. We don't do a lot, for instance, in business development, but what we bring to it is leadership training, issues in the region, a different model, and how do we partner, say, with the University of Hawaii, with the business school. There may be situations with APCSS when you bring in, eventually perhaps bring in military. How can we partner with that? So I think, again, it's taking the small institutions in Hawaii and then maximizing that and coming up with something. And so we're already in the process of looking at what that might be for us. Continuing doing what we already do, which is journalist exchange, teacher exchange, or take on a new approach.
But even if you want to know more about the country, Karen started a series at East-West Center at lunchtime, brown bag lunch and talk on Burma,
Right.
and we had one this week,
Yesterday.
and then we're going to have occasionally coming back, and
Well,
we will talk.
do I have to be enrolled at the
you
East-West
can
Center to go to that?
Contact me. These right now they're informal, but it's just there's so much happening and trying to process it, because on the outside we look at it, it's so simplistic. This wonderful lady leading the country to victory, but I think you need to understand the complexities of it, that there are
Sure.
so many different ethnic groups and there's ethnic fighting and what this means, and that's what we want this dialogue, this group to be. Moving forward, we're all excited, but let's learn a little bit more about it deeper, so we're more sophisticated as we go in.
So, if I understand what you both are saying, there's already an informal education seminar series, this brown bag luncheon that's
Right,
underway
right.
already.
Right.
And I've been asked by a variety of organizations on the island to come and speak, so I've done so. I've given briefing based on what they want to hear. So.
As an example.
Right before, most of my clientele has been mostly military or government. Like the joint POW-MIA, they went into Burma and they wanted to come. They want me to come and tell them about what is it, Burma 101 type of classes. So I've done so.
You mean there are POW-MIA issues with Burma?
Yeah, well, World War II,
That
Burma.
far
yeah.
back?
Yeah, World War II, there are about, I believe the POWMI website said there are about 700 still missing from World War II because they were flying the hump, you know,
Okay.
from China to India, and then Burma is in the middle of it, and then the plane keep on crashing into the northern Burma area.
So we have some 700 Americans unaccounted for, in Burma.
In Burma, yeah.
Interesting, interesting. And so all of that work, that Sherlock Holmes work, is all done here in Hawaii, right?
Yes, they would do the recovery operation probably there once they started going, and they've done so actually back in 2003, 2004 timeframe before it was stopped, and they will bring back the remains. And then, like, I think several years ago, they have identified one of the airmen from that recovery in northern Burma was identified. So I went to the ceremony because I was there, you know, at the beginning, helping them negotiate and stuff like that.
So the relationship between the Burmese government today and the U.S. is such that whole process of locating and repatriating can go on.
Well, they're
Just
starting
as it is in Vietnam.
they're starting the dialogue.
Okay.
It's not that far in yet. It's a very, very early dialogue of possibility of restarting this operation again. So.
Okay, so we have this brown bag seminar that's underway, so that's one possibility. And Karen, you've talked about the possibility down the road that the East-West Center may be partnering with other organizations.
We're looking at how to, again, maximize our resources and identifying strengths, you know, with other organizations and other individuals, because I think that's the only way, you know, that we're going to really be able to help. And because we all have our day-to-day jobs, we all already have projects, and this is happening so rapidly, and we feel we have a lot to offer. Hawaii has a lot to offer. And when Miemie mentions the brown bag, actually, there have been a loose group of us who've been meeting regularly for the past several years, talking about what might happen, and it's just been amazing to see. It's a small group, really, who, not just here, but who have been following Burma issues. It's not that big. So now it's just, it's great. And now now that we have this information and knowledge, how do we share it with others? How can we get them enthused and involved and move forward?
Sounds like you need to give me the location, not now, but of the next meeting, and for me to get on the Burma Bridge, I need to start packing a brown bag lunch and getting up to the East-West Center for these
Pack
meetings.
your bag and visit.
Yes, pack your bag.
Because that group, I guess, naturally is going to lead into more sophisticated education and programs that the East-West Center would have its hand in.
Right, because again, just getting the dialogue, because not too many people really ever visit Burma. It is new. It's because it has been so closed off.
Isolated. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just learning about it and finding out more, and I constantly learn more and more about it. The subtleties, the not so subtleties.
Let's talk for a minute about, you know, the bulk of this program has been kind of a Red Bull on fire kind of excitement and passion for this new country taking its place on the world stage. But let's apply some kind of real common sense to our discussion here as kind of as a caveat, as a careful to the business community, because you know a lot of times business people, they get so excited about something, they stuff their checkbook in their hip pocket and get on the plane. And there's some things about this country that people need to know.
Well, like the checkbook won't work.
Okay, the checkbook.
That's right.
Okay, we took care of those.
Even if you take $100 bills, crisp.
They have to be crisp.
It has to be crisp.
Absolutely.
It cannot have folds.
Any kind of
Are you
marking.
kidding?
Mark in it, no, you can't take it. It has to look like brand new.
Yeah.
So before you go, like this is like we're getting into very tactical tips, but before you go, you better call your bank for several days ahead and tell them that you need crisp $100 bills that is unmarked, unfolded.
And you can't have CB in the serial number for whatever reason.
Yeah.
CB and the
CB.
serial number in
right.
Burma doesn't work.
Well, they won't take it. Yeah,
won't.
they won't
Okay.
take it
Okay.
because I guess it was
Counterfeit or
counterfeits.
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
series.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have to do that ahead of time before you even leave here. So.
Okay, okay. So
And actually, and what they have done, but prior, just, and when we were there, the official exchange rate was 6.5 chat, which is the money, the official exchange rate. And then
To a dollar.
To a dollar. And then, I don't know if it's unofficial, but what
right,
the
it's
rest
a
of us
black
got.
market.
Black
Okay,
market
okay.
was, at one point, it was 1,100 or 1,200, now it was 850. So you kind of wonder, you know, okay, get 6.5, that's official, chat to the dollar, or you can get 1,100 chat to the dollar. So, but they've just since we've been back,
Yeah,
they've now
they
regulated.
changed,
So
yeah,
you
they
get the
changed their
850
policy.
chat to the dollar. So it's, again, it's a really interesting, even when my travel agent would send me the do's and don'ts, and it says, but you can always get it on the black market. I go, this is an official document. So.
all right, we just have a couple minutes left, but let's just in kind of in a bullet point fashion, let's lay out real quick some of the other challenges that business people have to be careful about in getting underway in Burma. You know, after you've done your due diligence, after you've done some learning, you get there on the ground.
Right.
What are some things that we want to highlight for our audience here?
I think because, I just mentioned, if, okay, you're on the ground in Burma, there is a lack of infrastructure, or if the infrastructure is there, electricity, just be aware, it goes on and off.
Okay.
It's just be aware that there are some, it's a country that is developing. There's pride with the people. They'll say, we're not poor, we're underdeveloped. And just be aware there's great dignity. I mean, it's everywhere, so.
Okay, we are going to have you, audience, if you want to find out the rest of these tips and the challenges in Burma, you'll need to get this 2012 country guide. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you, Dr. Miemie Byrd from the Asia Pacific Center for Security
Pleasure.
Studies, and Karen Knudsen from the East West Center. And thank you, audience, for joining us. I'm David Day for Asian Review. Good night.